Hello. Welcome to On the Sofa with Sisu. I'm Olajide.
And I'm Louisa.
And this week on the episode, we talk to our special guest, Solène. Solène, say hello.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me.
Special guest.
Special guest for our final episode of On the Sofa with Sisu. We are taking a hiatus, people, and on this very special episode, we dive into the wonderful world of neurodiversity and what it means to be neurodivergent. We do the word on the street with loads of incredible news, which I can't remember right now. And I shed a couple of tears. Tune in and enjoy. Peace out. Hello. She's back, people. She's back.
Guess who's back?
Back again.
Back again.
Oh, she made it in, peeps. She decided to come off a holiday. That's why she's super tanned.
That is not true. I wish.
She thought she'd make an appearance for what is going to be our final episode.
Final episode today.
We're taking a hiatus.
We are.
I don't actually know what that word
sabbatical.
means. What does that word mean, hiatus? It's the same as sabbatical.
I think so, yeah.
Is it the same as sabbatical?
Yeah, hiatus, yeah. We're
I'm
just
French.
taking
What
a
do
break.
I
Taking a break, having a sabbatical. Oh my
Hot,
goodness.
hot,
I think
hot
that was a bit
tea.
hot.
Oh my God.
Jesus, have you got some water? Wow, it wouldn't be the last episode without some drums in the house. Olajide's nearly burnt his
Oh my God.
Throat.
My mouth. Sorry, Pete.
Esophagus.
I just burnt my esophagus with some Pucker peppermint tea. This is not an advert.
It should be.
Pucker, if you'd like to approach
Sponsor?
us for
If you're
sponsorship.
listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people from Pucker. Maybe they are listening. Who knows?
Hello.
Hello. Anyway, bloody hell. We've only just started and we're already
know.
completely gone.
It's wild.
How was your week?
Yeah, I've had some ups and downs over the past couple of weeks actually. As you know, but the listeners don't, I had to attend a very, very sad, heartbreaking funeral actually last week. A friend of mine was in a motorbike accident, and he was hit by a drunk driver, and unfortunately he didn't make it. He's the same age as me, he's 35. So that was extremely low. But, you know, in those moments, I guess you really do kind of put your life into perspective, as when anyone passes, and it makes you kind of look at things in a different way. I do find that when somebody sort of young dies, though, it kind of makes you think even more about what you're doing with your life and where you are and how you treat people and how you want to be treated and all of that stuff. So that was a very pivotal moment. But other than that, you know, life has been good. My week's been all right. I've had some nice meetings this week with various different brands. And we had a lovely workshop the other day, didn't we?
Oh, my God. Such a magical experience.
It was so nice, wasn't
I
it?
know. I just wish every day could be like that, to be
It was
honest.
a good pick-me-up.
It was a really good pick-me-up. It's exactly what we needed, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a session with a company called XP Factory, and they own a Boom Battle Bar. And if anyone doesn't know what Boom Battle Bar is, it's basically like one of those spaces where you go and you can play loads of different games like axe throwing, bowling, shuffleboards. You can eat, you can drink there. It's quite a nice space to go and visit if you just want something to do on a weekend or a weeknight.
Yeah, I haven't been to one, but I really do want to go. It sounds wicked.
It's really fun. I've been going to one every week nearly with Turtle Bay, doing those road shows. In the evening we go to a Boom Battle Bar.
Really cool.
And it is really fun because especially if you like games and you're competitive, it's quite a nice place. But the team that we trained were like the GM's ops and marketing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they were just so open to, we don't know enough about this, but we want to learn this, not because we've just been told to, but because we need to know this so we can be better at our jobs and we can be better managers. And I was like, it was actually quite refreshing to hear people say it in that way, because a lot of the time you're like, the people are like, oh, I just come, I'm here just to listen. but actually they were like trying to see that it will make an impact to them and their day to day was really powerful.
And there was so many like moments of honest, previous, I guess. Like a few of the people in there come from places where it's somewhat one-dimensional, and they were very open and honest about what they were privy to. But prior to like moving to London and being somewhere that is like multi-diverse, there's some really like good conversations that came out of that. So that was really nice. It's just so nice to hear people being honest and being like, well, this is what I thought about the world before, and this is what I think about the world now because of my experiences. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, same. It was a really nice session. I can't wait to do loads more with them.
Yeah. So what else has been going on in your week?
What has been going on in my week?
Flat out.
Bloody hell. I mean, when isn't my week? I feel like one day I'll come on here and I'll be like, it's been a pretty easy week, peeps. You know, I've been resting, R&R. I did have an amazing face mask last night. Which I can't remember what it's called. It's called Dr. something or the other. And
Was it a sheet mask?
Yeah, but it's like a sheet mask, but it's made out of rubber.
Ooh.
And you put this gel on, you prime your skin, and then you put this rubber mask on, and you sit it on for 40 minutes.
Where did you get that?
Where do you think? Amazon.
Oh, stop it! I thought you were going to say, like, Ola recommended it to you or something.
No, it was, basically, my friend Jo got it. Last weekend we went away. And we didn't get to use it. And I said to her after we left, I went, you need to send me where you got it from. And she sent it to me, and she got it from Look Fantastic. But I wanted it last night, so I got it on Amazon because obviously it's next day delivery or even same day. It's not an advert. But yeah, I had an amazing face mask last night, and actually it was just I put my phone down and it was nice to put my phone down and just sit and just lie and did nothing for like 45 minutes. And it was weird because that might sound weird to people, but in the evenings, I sit with my phone in my hand, normally scrolling through stuff, reading stuff, watching TV, scrolling, watching TV, but to actually sit and not actually do anything and just be still was really nice. And yeah, so that was nice. So that was my night last night.
Oh, send me the link,
I will.
please.
What else have I done? I went away to Wiltshire, which was, again, just really nice R&R. Spent some time with some uni friends and just caught up. And actually, it was just nice because as you get older, people, I'll tell you, life starts to life, right? Yeah, life is lifing for everyone. And sometimes you forget, as human beings, that we all are dealing with our own individual shit. And sometimes when you message people and they say, yeah, hey, how are you? I'm good, thank you. How are you? And it's very like surface. As until you sometimes get an opportunity to spend some real quality time together, you then dive into under the surface and you realise that people are falling apart.
At the scene.
And I shouldn't laugh because it's not funny. But like we are all like dealing with our own demons and our own trauma and our own shit. And actually sitting there last weekend with everyone, I was like, do you know what? Is this what 35 is? And everything. I was like, because it is tough. It is tough. There's so many decisions you have to make in life. There's so many paths that you can follow and you can go down. There's so many things that you want that you may potentially not be able to get. And it was a heavy weekend just because we were talking about deep stuff. But it was actually really nice just to sit and realise that sometimes when I sit and I think, oh, am I the only one that's going through this stuff? I'm not the only one that's going through stuff. I'm not the only one that sometimes wakes up and thinks, I want to go unsubscribe to my life. Like, it happens to a lot of people. And it was just a bit of like I don't know how to describe it. It was just it was a nice weekend. It was enlightening. It was hard, but it was also refreshing. Beautiful.
I'm laughing because literally 30 seconds prior to us recording, Olajide's flailing his arms around saying, I'm falling apart! But yeah, I know what you mean. But also, like, I do think sometimes we've got to, like, just press pause for a moment and actually just in those moments of where we're like, oh my gosh, life is so hard and we have to do all this hard shit and that, we've just got to remember that actually life's not supposed to be that way. So let's not like ponder and make life harder for ourselves.
No.
And actually just remember that in those moments, if we just start trying to find the good things and the things that we're grateful for and the positivity in our life, those other things actually shrink a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, you know what the thing is? I think is I mean, some people are really open, and I'm not the most transparent person when it comes to sharing my emotions and feelings with every Tom, Dick and Harry. But I think sometimes people sit in their own mildew for too long.
I love that.
And fester, and then they don't share with their close ones because they're worried about judgment and just loads of things like that. And I always think, you know, actually a problem shared is a problem solved in a way. Like sometimes
Problem shared is a problem halved.
Oh,
That's
that's the saying. Well, you know me, I don't say anything right.
that is one of your quirks, and I love it.
It's one of my many faceted skills that I have. But yes, that was that. And what else? I was going to say something else that I remembered that I did this week that I really enjoyed. Oh, this is actually quite exciting. Drum roll, please. Turtle Bay have been nominated for a Peach Award for their efforts within diversity, equity, and equality and inclusion.
I don't know what a Peach Award is, but it sounds very cute.
I was going to say something there that
Anything
would
to your
have got me
bum,
into trouble.
yeah.
All these awards are bullshit, aren't they? Really, like realistically.
How much do companies pay for it?
Because
I'm double chinning.
they are, because I sometimes sit there and go, which awards are paid for? Which awards are real? Who is judging these awards? What?
Well, yeah, of course.
But it is still nice to be recognised for some of the work that we're doing. So in the same breath that I say it's bullshit, I will still be talking about this for the next couple of weeks until we win it. And also,
like when he got top 10 influencer.
So many
top
awards
20,
this
I can't
year,
remember.
and also 2 people within the team at Turtle Bay got made finalists of the opera awards that we're attending, that we sponsored. So we've got one lady, Chenga, who is in the E&I team. She was finalist for Inclusive by Nature Award. I nominated her for that, and she's now a finalist, which I'm really happy about, because obviously she's been in the E&I team for like 3 years.
Oh, that is good.
And she is like my go-to person when it comes to anything to do with E&I, and she's just always wanting to like do more and help out as much as she possibly can, and she's just by nature super inclusive, so I'm really proud of her. And then another person, Brogan, who you also know, Brogan's been nominated for HR Star Rising.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Is that a different award?
Different category. Same award ceremony.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was nice to see that 2 people from the team at Turtle Bay have made it to the awards, and they'll be joining us on the day for a celebration at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Oh, good. Hard Rock Cafe.
I know.
That place is like a fucking time warp, I'm telling you.
Have you been to the Hard Rock Cafe?
Which one? Apart from the Vegas one.
There's one in Piccadilly and there's one in Marylebone, but it is like stepping into Vegas,
Yeah.
but old school Vegas. It's a pretty bizarre place.
Every time I walk through the threshold, I'm like, let's do the time warp again. That plays in my head every single time. It is so weird.
It is weird. Anyway, you're probably all like thinking, can you just get to the conversation, because you two are trying absolute bear breeze.
Everyone loves the breeze.
James just went bear breeze.
Bear breeze.
So we have a special guest today, as
Super special.
a super special guest to end this lovely season. We have Solène, who we are honoured to have, a remarkable guest who embodies the spirit of breathtaking, breaking down. And she's breathtaking.
She is breathtaking, though, let me tell you.
But she embodies the spirit of breaking down borders and fostering inclusivity through meaningful conversations. Solène is such an incredible dynamic speaker, accomplished author, and a true leader with a mission to bring the world closer together, one inclusive conversation at a time. Solène has an impressive array of experiences that span across the globe, having lived and worked in 6 countries and explored numerous cultures through extensive travel. Her diverse background includes ventures into various businesses, from starting her own company in Australia to building a successful joint venture from scratch in China. Additionally, she has contributed her talents to companies of all scales, ranging from startups to SMEs to multinational corporations across Europe. Solène's expertise is as multifaceted as her journey. She excels in presenting, hosting, as she did our summer event last year.
Yeah, absolutely smashed it.
Smashed it. People always ask me still about you. While also being a writer, she has got 2 books, 3 books, 4 books. 4. She's got 4 books, peeps. Her passions extend to areas such as diversity, inclusion, belonging, mental health, neurodiversity, disability, strategy, leadership, coaching. The list is endless. She can do everything. She can do it all, peeps. Beyond her extensive skill sets, Solène is an inspiring leader driven by empathy and deep commitment to nurturing the growth and development of individuals and teams. Her entrepreneurial spirit makes her resilient and adaptable, consistently finding innovative ways to bring ideas to life. She's a natural storyteller, and she approached life with honesty, curiosity, and a unique perspective as a neurotypical individual. Thank you.
I feel like we're selling Solène.
We are selling Solène. She is
Like,
available.
this is a QVC for Solène. That is the longest intro
I'm not
we've ever
sponsoring,
done.
I promise.
She is going for £30 million, people.
I mean, my dad was once offered 10,000 camels, so I don't know which one's best.
Welcome to the podcast. I had to write a
Thank
good
you.
introduction for her because when I was reading everything about this, what you've done, I was like, so much stuff in such a. I mean, you're not old, so in such a short period of time, you've done and accomplished so many amazing things, and you're still accomplishing them. So I was like, I wanted to give it everything that I had. So
Do you know what is so special? Solène also has a podcast, and we were the first guests on Solène's podcast, and she is our last guest on this
That's true.
podcast, which seems very fitting.
oh, I will actually cry. I will get emotional.
That was an awesome episode. If anyone wants to watch it again, it's still on YouTube. So yeah, very special.
That was such
It
a
was.
great conversation. It was
Yes.
just so powerful. When was it? Was it last year?
It would be January last year.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
18 months ago,
Wow.
or more than that even.
Blimey.
Oh.
Wow. And you're now on what episode?
It's going to be episode 19 on the 10th of August about Disability Pride, because July is Disability Pride Month. So yeah.
Amazing. Wow. Anyway, we're gonna get into your journey and everything about you in a second. We've got a little icebreaker first.
Ooh.
What is an important skill every person should have, do you think?
Oh, that is really hard because every person is unique and different, and I love that about the world. Every person should be human. How about that as a skill, being human?
That is, I mean, it sounds like it should be like next to nothing. It should be like everyone should just be human, but actually I think sometimes we forget how to be human. So yeah, that is quite an important skill, to be fair.
And even that word should.
Yeah.
Should is a judgment word, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
we're saying you must adhere
Yeah.
to certain skill or something. I think, celebrating everyone's differences and similarities is the key to humanity. So, yeah. But hopefully if we can all remember also for ourselves that we're only human.
Yeah, only human. Would you have anything? Skills?
Yeah, I guess mine is similar, but it's quite different at the same time. I would say that I think that everyone should try and obtain the ability to remember that your possibilities of what you can do are infinite if you believe in yourself. Remember that you are an entity and not just restricted to the vessel of your body.
Wow. You are an entity and you're not restricted to the vessel of your body.
That's
Wow.
very true. We're all energy
Yeah.
as
We are.
human beings.
Do you know what's really weird? It's that I feel like I've heard that this week. Like I've heard someone say that this week somewhere along my way.
What? That is so much. If you have, you need to connect me with this person.
Yeah, but I can't. Like, literally, when you said it, I was like, I've heard someone say it this week, either on TV.
What if they're my soulmate?
That is so weird. That was literally like a little deja vu. That was really bizarre. I like that. I really like that. I don't know how I'm going to top that now, to be honest. So I'm just not going to.
It's not a competition.
No, it's not a competition.
I don't know what else to say. You two said like two human entity, energy. I'm like, what have I got left to say?
Love.
Love was actually going to be in my initial thing, was going to be love, but I'm like, yeah, everyone should try and be loving. And do you know what? Love is true. Like, I think people, actually, no, I scrapped that. I'm not going to do love. I'm going to do empathy. Empathy is a skill that I really wish that more people had. And I had a conversation this morning with someone, they will go unnamed. And it was about how I just feel like people sometimes will just say stuff without thinking about the impact that might have at that time when you say it to that person, and where that might go and what might happen next. And people are so like slapdash with saying stuff, or and I'm like that as well. You say stuff in the moment or in the heat of something, and you don't think about the impact. You're not empathetic with where the person might have come from, and I'm really trying to tune into this that whole idea of just being more empathetic and less judgmental, and giving people the space and the time to make mistakes or to be selfish or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Letting people do what they need to do for them. And being empathetic with that, for me, is a really important skill that I wish more people had, because then we would have less arguments, we'd understand each other more, and the world would be a better place. Make it a better
Do you know what? This week, obviously, you know that I love Pinterest. Literally obsessed with it. And I love, like, creating Maisie, like, printouts for all sorts of things. And I saw this acronym that was about thinking before you speak. And it is the word think, and it's the T is it true? H is it helpful? I is it inspiring? N is it necessary? And K is it kind? And I thought, what a great set of tools to have to think about before you actually say something to somebody.
Can you send that to me? I might put it on my screensaver. Because I do have to think. You do have to sometimes just stop and just think about what you say.
Yeah.
I mean, Louisa knows I'm not good at that sometimes, so I said
You
stuff.
also have the opportunity after saying something that if you realize the impact wasn't the kind of impact that you want to have, you have the opportunity to apologize, to make a repair. And also I think the idea of like self-empathy as well, and that's something that I struggle with, self-compassion, like that, being able to not only have empathy for others and see all the good and forgive other people, but also keep a little bit for yourself as well. That's something that I definitely struggle with, and I've been working on this year, as kind of my theme for this year, self-compassion.
It's really important, yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Some good little skills there, peeps. Hope you're taking notes. Right, so it's time for Word on the Street. Word on the Street. Word on the Street.
What's the word on the street?
Word on the street. Word on the street. I'm going to miss saying that.
Word on the street?
Word on the street.
I'm just going to voice note you sometimes and be like, hey, what's the word on the street?
Word on the street. Word on the street.
Make that your ringtone.
Oh, my God. I wish you could do things like that. You can't do things like that anymore, can you, on your phone?
You can, James just said.
Oh, okay. I need to... Oh!
Stop it.
Thank you.
Ringtone.
Right, so what's your word on the street?
So,
I can't say it now without thinking of the song.
my word on the street, obviously, everyone, I like to keep it light-hearted and fun and celebratory sometimes, but unfortunately that is not going to happen this week. Disclaimer.
She's just like, I'm not making it light. This is heavy and hard, so if you're not ready, fast forward, hit that tap button.
Well, I saw it and I thought, God, do you know what? Not enough people do talk about this, I don't think. So basically, our man on the ground, obviously, sends us all our news pieces, and this one caught my eye because it's a little bit different. So a mother who was jailed for illegally taking abortion tablets to end her pregnancy during lockdown will be released from prison after the Court of Appeal reduced her sentence. So this lady admitted illegally procuring her own abortion when she was between 32 and 34 weeks pregnant. A judge told her last month that she would serve half of her 28-month term in custody and the remainder on licence, but the Court of Appeal reduced the term to 14 months suspended. Dame Victoria Sharp, sitting with Lord Justice Holroyd and Mrs Justice Lambert at the London Court on Tuesday, called it a very sad case. It is a case that calls for compassion, not punishment, Dame Victoria said. Foster appeared at the hearing via a video link, blah, blah, blah. She is a mother of 3 from Staffordshire, and she was jailed on the 12th of June. So the court heard that she had moved back in with her ex-partner at the start of lockdown while carrying another man's baby. She procured the pills by post from British Pregnancy Advisory Service after providing information that led staff to believe that she was 7 weeks pregnant. Although abortion is legal up to 24 weeks, after 10 weeks the procedure is carried out in a clinic. So in May, she took the abortion pills, and then the emergency services received a call to say that she had gone into labour. The baby was born not breathing during the call and pronounced dead about 45 minutes later. Foster was initially charged with child destruction, which she denied, and she later pleaded guilty to an alternative charge of Section 58 of the Offences Against the Person Act, administering drugs or using instruments to procure abortion, which was accepted by the prosecution. She had no communication with her children whilst she was in the prison, one of which has autism. Mr. White highlighted that Foster had voluntarily revealed her actions to police, adding that had she not done that, it is highly unlikely that she would have ever been prosecuted. So she now has a 14-month suspended prison sentence, and she has to complete up to 50 days of activity, which is what I'm assuming they call community service these days.
Yeah. Activity.
Yeah. So the Court of Appeal has today recognised that this cruel, antiquated law does not reflect the values of society today. Now is the time to reform abortion law so that no women are unjustly criminalised for taking desperate actions at a desperate time in their lives. Right to Life UK, however, urged the government to reject legislation changes and called for a full inquiry. So basically, they want to change the law so that abortions can be had up to 32 weeks or around 8 months gestation. But that's obviously when a baby is fully formed. Now, this made me really sad to read, actually.
About the lady in question.
Yeah, I felt really sorry for her because obviously in lockdown especially, so she didn't have access to certain things or certain services. She probably should have had a face-to-face appointment. But she's also had to lie about how far gone she is in her pregnancy so that she could actually make the decision for herself, rather than somebody saying to her, well, you're past the 30 weeks, you're past the 24 weeks, and now you have to have your baby, or you have to have this baby, regardless of what circumstances you're in, what situation you're in, what mental health you have. Like, this is it. The decision is taken away from you.
I always find it really quite bizarre that any decision like that can be taken away from someone when it's their body. I always find it bizarre the way that the abortion laws work, but it's sad that someone could be made to look like a criminal for taking ownership of their own body. That's what I think is really sad, and obviously her children have had to go through that as well. Like,
that's what upset
her whole
me.
family's had to be brought through the whole rigmarole of her actually going to court and all that kind of stuff. It's just,
That's what upset me the most, I think. Not being able to have contact with her children. One of her children being neurodivergent, who probably has specific needs, not that we're privy to them, but that's an assumption. But any child who is separated from their parent or caregiver is going to experience some kind of trauma, regardless of whether they have autism or ADHD or anything like that or not. That's something that I think is not on.
Yeah, I think as well, like the law, there's something weird about the law where the law can't be not bent, but like each case should be taken for its individual case, and actually all the circumstances. I think it's not equitable.
It's
the
so
whole
funny
process.
because
It's like you don't look at how different people have there's history, right? And there's like context to why things happen.
it's like circumstantial.
That's it. Yeah, but sometimes the court of law doesn't take any of that into thought when they do things. But
I mean, I think it's good the way that they actually have handled it. I mean, they obviously, yes, okay, so she's got a 14-month suspended sentence. Okay, whatever. Like, you know, if she's not a criminal, she's obviously not going to go out like robbing places and stuff and then get sent to prison. But
she also will have a criminal record now.
Yeah,
she will have a criminal record. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That part's not fair.
That's gonna
renting
impact her life,
apartments,
yeah.
Getting jobs, potentially.
Any kind of finance, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's
the part,
completely
but-
change her life. All
Yeah.
because she took control of her body.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
it.
ridiculous.
That is,
And a big
yeah.
piece that is missing in the whole story is how do we accompany people through this kind of experiences with the mental health side of things as well. Like,
Well,
you know,
that's
it's
it.
very seen as like a body issue. Like, okay, you're pregnant, so you can terminate, and this is the date, and not beyond this, and this is the rule.
Yeah.
What about like the whole human experience? It's not just, which is already huge, having a baby inside of you. It's also like, your wider life and really like walking with you through that experience. In the medical context, that doesn't happen enough, I think.
Well, that's the thing. There was a piece in this article that I did actually miss out about how she was experiencing anxiety prior to realising that she was pregnant anyway. But then there's lots of details that are not in there, like when did she realise that she was pregnant and, you know, what her circumstances are, financials, all of that stuff. That's all missing out of there. But that article will make people judge her
Yeah.
massively.
Absolutely. And now whenever she has to do anything and has to disclaim that she has a past, a criminal record, people will continue judging her for the rest of her life now.
Yeah, like her full name, age and everything is in that article.
Wow.
I just think it's pretty disgusting, to be fair.
It is. It is. Thank you for sharing that. It is. Yeah, it just makes us realise that there's some flaws in our criminal justice system.
Oh, 100%.
Not some, actually.
Loads.
Quite a few.
So many.
Welcome to the real world.
So many. I mean, the law that she actually got prosecuted with is from like 1861 or something.
Stop it, the abortion law.
No, the one that they wanted to go for child destruction, and then they went for something lower, but that was from 1861.
Wowzers. Right, well, I was going to share some other news, but I'm not going to because it's quite, again, heavy, and I feel like I want something a bit light. It's the last episode. So I'm going to share this one that James was in Tesco. So James became our man on the ground and was in Tesco yesterday, and he sent us a picture of... He sent us a picture of the fabric plasters in Tesco. This is not a paid ad. In Tesco with the 3 different colours of light, medium and dark. And they were all priced the same. And I think when we initially talked about this, maybe last season...
We didn't know,
we didn't know they were the same price. We didn't know if there was one was going to be more expensive. So it's nice to see that they are out in the stores and they are priced the same and they are live. They are live and out and about, which I love. And it's so good to see that Tesco is got their own brand.
Yeah.
Like, it's their own Tesco brand, and it's not expensive. It's £1.20. Well, it is expensive, realistically. It's a plaster, but, you know, £1.20.
Not like some of the other plasters, though.
No.
You get 40.
Elastoplast. Yeah.
Is it 40?
I thought the colour naming was quite clever.
Yeah.
No?
Light, medium, dark. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's offensive.
No.
I think it's factual, really.
Degree of pigment, right?
Yeah.
It's what?
Degrees of pigment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Degrees of pigment.
Because there's no what. The thing is, there's a lot of room for potentially making it offensive. But obviously they haven't. They've just gone for the most simplest route, which is light, medium, dark, because that's literally we are light, medium, dark. So yeah, I was
varying
like
degrees.
in varying degrees. So I was like, I like that. It's a little celebration. Well done, Tesco. And hopefully we'll see them more in other stores around the country and around the world. I actually think I saw not Oprah, Whoopi Goldberg was somewhere on my TikTok reel came up and she was talking about exactly the same thing on The Voice. So look at us all,
Oh, really?
sharing this
What about
wonderful.
Tesco?
No, it was about some
Oh.
about the plasters.
I thought she was rocking around Tesco.
But hers was a paid ad.
We do it for free.
We just did it for free. But yeah, that was a nice little bit of celebratory news to share with you all. And that is the last and final word on the street, peeps. So we're going to jump into our interview with our Who Be the VIP.
grilling.
The
Who'll
grilling.
be the VIP?
Who'll be the VIP? Who beat the VIP? It's
Has no one ever done this before?
no one's ever danced.
A little dance?
No one's danced to it. No. Can you start off by just sharing with us your journey and how you became passionate about breaking down borders and promoting inclusivity through conversations?
I can. I feel like you've already done that for me.
And it's over to you.
I mean, I have written a book about this, so, check it out.
But what's your book called so that people can go and check it out?
Plug your shit, Solène.
Woo!
Yeah, plug it. What would you...
Ad break. It's called Where to Next. That's the one I was referring to. It's a travel memoir about a little bit about my story, like traveling, living in different countries, and how that's informed my view of where is home, what is home, who is home, and also it shares a little bit about my journey, living, working in different countries and stuff like that. So, but you said that beautifully earlier. Yes, I'm French. I was born and raised in France, and then I moved when I was 18. So it's been a long while now that I've been, traveling around, moving around. I'm actually moving to a new country in September.
What? Where
Word on the street!
This is news to us, everybody.
Where are you going?
I'm moving to Dubai in UAE for a couple of years as of
Yes?
September. Yes.
Oh my God.
You will have to come visit.
Congratulations.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
So my amazing husband got a job offer for his company in Dubai, so I'm going with him. And I'm going to go freelance.
Yes!
Woo!
Yes, I'm so excited.
Literally living the dream.
Oh, that is exactly
Well.
what you wanted. You've been wanting that for ages. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So any jobs? I'm going to change with what is it on LinkedIn? Hashtag open to work?
Open to work. No, it's not, because they should
Call
make
me
one.
baby.
They should make one different, which is not open to work. It's like
Freelance.
available to hire.
Yeah. Oh.
Or just like
Depends what you have in
Yeah, or
mind, hey?
freelancing
Yeah,
or
freelancing.
open to collaborate.
2 projects or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there'll be loads of stuff over there anyway that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and globally, I think
Did I have a
like
conversation with about Dubai and about the need that they're desperately in need of DEI people in Dubai. So I feel
the
like there's
question is
definitely a
how
market.
much.
Shall we go?
Yeah,
as well?
please.
I don't know if I can hack it. I don't think they like gay people.
Yeah. That's what I was about
Also
to say.
the
Like,
heat.
there's a need, but is there like an openness? That's gonna be what I'm gonna go and find out. And I think it really depends on, D&I is like super broad, so it depends on what aspect of the conversation. Like, physical access is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The city was built like 25 years ago. Like, all public transport is step-free access, things like that. So, they've done a lot of work in certain areas. Other areas, not at all. And, that breaks my heart. And I think going in with an open mind, but also still with that willingness to change and push the conversation and make people slightly uncomfortable if I can, in a safe way.
Yeah.
Is the plan. But yeah, I mean, I think you've said pretty much everything. I'm the founder of Be Beyond Borders. I'm a speaker, writer, and facilitator. And now I'm really specializing on all things neurodiversity and neuroinclusion meets innovation, leadership, and culture. I'm author of books and stuff, 12 plus years of career. So basically I look a lot older than I am. So stop the ageism, people.
Can you just tell people about the Be Beyond Builders? Because I think that's obviously
Yeah.
how we got into the podcast, and that was, the inclusion conversation.
Yes.
Just tell us a bit more about that.
Definitely. So it started in 2018, and initially for me, it was very much about those physical borders. I was like, I can't understand why we have these borders between people. We're all human, and I wanted to celebrate both the similarities that we have that make us human, and then the differences that we have that make us unique. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start this project that is going to be about sharing stories of people who live in different countries or from different cultures, etc. And we're going to bring people closer together and show, the shared humanity. And then COVID happened. Yay! And so all the borders went up, and I completely, lost, I felt like I lost the purpose of what Be Beyond Borders was. And so it took about a year, and then I started to realize... Yeah, it takes a bit of time sometimes to realize things. We have borders everywhere in our minds as well. Like, borders are not just those tangible things that we put between countries. They're also the stigma. They're also biases, judgment, etc. And so I pivoted the project into looking at borders from a more holistic point of view and really opening the conversation to, let's bring people from lots of different parts of D&I and talk about their lived experience, their expertise, and hopefully we can break down some of these barriers and really bring people together. I just want people to realize that, let's stop killing each other.
Yeah.
We have huge global challenges that we're facing.
Yeah.
Climate change, poverty, water scarcity, and yet we're all fighting each other to be no, my country will survive. Your country's existed for at tops maybe 150 years.
We have time to fight amongst each other whilst there's so much shit going on.
If we put our minds together and we looked at the world globally as our home for humanity, what would we do differently? That question really interests me. And I know people look at me and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. You're never going to be able to achieve that. Well, I mean, people have been told that so many times, and great shit has happened. I was like, I'm just going to go with it. I was supposed to say great things have happened, but,
great shit has happened.
Yes.
You're right.
I think people always assume that you have to change the world, you have to make huge changes. But it's those small little bits.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Butterfly effect, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Fireworks, I also say. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's and I keep, navigating between that kind of big vision that we're just talking about, and then exactly those small steps and actions of introducing people to each other, learning, encouraging learning, challenging people in sometimes uncomfortable ways about the things that they say, and talking about things we don't talk about. And I want to, by the way, say thank you so much for your early share about what's happening in your week, because that's a topic, death and loss and grief, that we don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
We all grow through it. If there's one thing that we all have in common is we're all going to die, or we're dead, either way.
Yeah.
And I was watching, actually, I'll share with you at lunchtime, a TED Talk from a deaf doula.
Oh,
I'd never come across
A deaf
doula.
Yeah,
Wow.
they accompany you through your end of life.
I would love that.
And your family and your community, and bring people together in that, those last moments
Really?
or that experience.
Or you would love to have one?
No, I'd love to have one.
Oh.
I mean, what
don't know
an
if I could handle
amazing
it.
job, though.
I couldn't
Our
do that,
role,
no.
What an
Amazing,
amazing
yeah.
calling, right?
Yeah.
And it's giving me goosebumps. But yeah, I just think thank you for sharing that, and I'm really sorry for your
Thank
loss.
you, Solène. Thank you.
So, as a neurodivergent individual,
Yes.
I feel like maybe we should be like. Where was it? I saw. Could you explain? That's probably a bit of a. That should probably be the one before that.
okay.
Because otherwise it's diving
what's
right into it. And then,
neurodiversity?
yeah, exactly.
As a neurodivergent person, please could you tell us what is neurodiversity?
It's really interesting. Have you noticed that in that question you've got neurodivergent and neurodiversity? Do you know the difference?
Divergent is the adjective and neurodiversity is the noun? No?
It could be. That's a fact that one is a noun, one is an adjective. But neurodiverse is the adjective that corresponds to neurodiversity, and neurodivergent is the noun. No, hang on. That corresponds to neurodivergence. See what I mean?
You've confused me.
So-
I would say it as like a
Yes.
neurodivergent is when you're referring to the person, and neurodiversity is actually the collective. Like, well, everybody is actually neurodiverse, but you know, when we're saying neurodivergent, it's normally when we are acknowledging somebody who perhaps has what's the word I'm looking for?
A label, a diagnosis,
A diagnosis.
a different
I
lived
think so.
experience.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be like the basic way of explaining it for somebody who didn't know either of those words. That's how I
Yeah.
would try and explain it.
Really good. Excellent. 10 out of 10. So yes, neurodiversity is the broad term that basically tells us that there's infinite possibilities of brains and cognition. So we're all different. We're all neurodiverse because my brain, your brain is different in itself, and it has different connections within as well, and those connections are constantly changing. So neurodiversity is literally the diversity in neurology. That's what it is. So it's everybody. And you can say neurodiverse people, which literally just means diverse people in a neurological kind of way. Neurodivergence is the idea that there are some people that are further away from the norm. But what is normal? Right? So there are a lot of people in the community who are really like disliking the word neurodivergent and neurodivergence, the words, I should say. Especially a great friend of mine, Atif Chowdhury, says, we're all neurodiverse, but not all of us are marginalized for it. So it is interesting to see language evolve. At the moment, there's still, I would say, a majority of people who use the word neurodivergent, and I haven't seen a replacement. So it's very hard then to express, what word do you use for people who have a diagnosis or who are self-diagnosed or who have a lived experience that is different from, let's say, the majority of the population. But yeah, there's a lot of discussion because basically what we're doing is we're thinking of human cognition and human brains in a normalized kind of way, meaning that normal statistic curve where it goes up in the middle very high, and we're saying, okay, 80% of the population roughly thinks and behaves and learns and interacts with the world in this way, and then we have people who are at the extreme who are different. That's what we're saying, that's what we're assuming, but is that true? Like, is there a norm? Actually, no one is normal. And Gabor Mate takes it even further in his book, The Myth of Normal, which is incredible, in saying that the more we are saying there is a norm, here is the norm, go get close to the norm, the more we're likely to create neurodivergence, what we call neurodivergence now, because people are trying so hard to fit in, so hard to be normal, so hard to get close, that then actually it creates more damage than good, physically and mentally. So yeah, it's very interesting, and it's evolving so much that for me, I'm keeping an open mind and keep observing, but that's the best that I can do definition wise.
Yeah, that is literally how I look at it now, how I think about it. I'm like, the more we put more labels onto people, the more marginalised we're making people feel, and that's like where we're supposed to be coming away from. Like, we're supposed to be being inclusive and encompassing everybody, and the more we pinpoint people with these kinds of exactly what you said, you're different because you have this, or you've been labelled this, or it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's really interesting, labels, because it's like an and rather than an or. Do you know what I mean? On one side, labels can be so amazing and empowering, because like personally, when I got my first label, and now I've got two, ooh la la, I found like, whoa, like, there is actually something different about the way my brain works. Like, I didn't make it up. And also, there is support out there, and there is a community. There are people that when I meet them and I tell them stuff, they don't look at me like, oh, you're an alien, you know? They just get it. There's something really empowering and inviting and celebratory about labels if you reframe them. And at the same time, there's a real danger, which is what you're talking about, in labeling people as if this label is all of you. And also because a lot of these labels still come with stigma, you know, putting people in boxes and giving them that negative stereotype of, you know, because you've got ADHD, because you're autistic, because X, Y, and Z, you can't do certain things, or you are going to act like this, or you're not welcome in this space, etc., or you're making it up, you know, countless, right, barriers and stigma. So it's very interesting. And yeah, this thing of label, it can be helpful and it can be harmful. I think, again, it's how you use it rather than the label itself.
Yeah, of course. Everything has pros and cons. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, just going back to one of the things you were saying about the word normal. Yeah. It's a word that I find myself using it sometimes, and I fall into like my old habits, and I say normal, and I correct myself, but I'm like, what's another way of saying normal but not saying normal? Because I haven't quite got there to the point of like saying, oh, this is the normal way of doing it, but actually, or this is the normal person. Do you know what I mean? Like, but what is?
I use
just drop it out.
I use like majority.
Majority,
like especially if you're talking about a way of doing something. Like this is how, you know, the majority might think about this, or you know, this is the most common. Most common.
Majority, most common.
In the context of neurodiversity, we use neurotypical to describe the majority. But yeah, again, like I still have some, like I need to create a new dictionary, I think, around this. I just haven't cracked it yet.
A few words
I think like
rethought.
That's the normal. The idea of normal, I even sometimes catch myself saying it, and I put air quotes, but I'm like, I'm still saying it, so there's still there's still an issue there. There's a beautiful children's book. It's a French children's book that my mom loves getting me children's book. You're never too old for children's book. If you think you are, then reconnect to your inner child, because 100%. No one is ever too old for children's book. And it's this little girl who feels very different, and she tries to find who is normal in her class, because you know, she feels different, and also she's being bullied for it. And she keeps, you know, looking at, oh, the majority is eating this, one person is not eating it, so they're not normal. Then the majority likes this color, and etc., etc. And then it's like it gets less and less and less, and then she finds one person who is normal. So then she decides she's going to follow him around and look at what is he doing to be normal. And then she realizes eventually that, hang on a minute, if there's only one of them, then surely he can't be normal either, right? So then she realizes, oh my God, I can't remember. I have to ask my mom. Mom, if you're watching, this is your time to shine.
It's very funny because earlier on across the road, there's a clinic, like a beautician clinic, and they've got some pictures in the window. And Maisie and I were looking at them, and one of them was like a picture of somebody's facial skin, and she was like, "Oh look, Mummy, her skin's a little bit like yours when you haven't got any makeup on." And I was like, "Oh," and this skin, it kind of had like some red blotches on it. You know, if we've got that, our frequent listeners, as you'll know, I'm on the isotretinoin. Anyway, I said, I was like, "Oh, what kind of skin do you think is normal?" And she said, she literally looked at me like, and went, "There is no normal skin." I was like, I could not be prouder of you right now. She was like, you know, if you've got bumpy skin, if you've got a skin like mine, or skin like yours, or like the brown skin with the white patches on, or if you've got skin that looks like a bulldog, it's all normal.
I love that girl.
That's amazing.
I absolutely love her.
That is gorgeous.
She comes out with the best stuff sometimes, and you just go, I don't know how you've come, who you've
One day
become.
she'll be on this. She'll be hosting this body, and she'll be inviting you both and say, so dinosaurs of DNI, come and tell us. What do you think has changed in half a century?
Oh, don't. Oh, God, don't put ideas into her head. She probably will.
We're already in the doghouse for not having her on the show.
Yeah, so she's like, you said I was going to be on, and we were like, yeah, we will. It's never the end.
When you're 18?
Oh, God. So with your experience, have you have you faced any challenges along the way with your with yourself and your career and with being, I don't want to say I don't want to say the wrong thing now. Now I'm not conscious. Neurodivergent.
Yes. Short answer is yes, absolutely. And I think until I had, my diagnosis, I just couldn't understand like why I wasn't nailing it.
Yeah.
Like what's going on, but I always felt different, like from a really young age at school, and you can't see it. So I couldn't explain it. I didn't have the words for it, but I just felt different. I felt like I just wasn't like belonging in this world. Like I wasn't right for this world. And it turned into like this idea of being broken. And it turned into like, at about 10 years old, I remember making the conscious decision of being myself isn't acceptable. So I'm going to have a strategy, like I'm going to observe everybody around me, especially the popular ones, and I'm going to try and mimic what they do and, change myself to be able to fit in, be able to hopefully have friends and be popular and be accepted. And that became my mask. It's not one, it's like my several masks for years and years and years. And it continued in the workplace as well. Do you know what I mean? Just like observing people, what do they want from me, mirroring them, making sure that, I was like people pleasing really, but to everybody. And I think, it's only like recently that I'm realizing like people must have thought like, who is this person? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, who is this? Like, where is her authenticity? And I think it did still seep through. But almost accidentally, and sometimes in my private life quite violently as well, because when you're always trying to contain yourself and mask, at some point it just like explodes in
But you must
anger,
have been
rage.
Exhausted.
Absolutely exhausted. And I think it comes also with that perfectionism. I that idea of like, I got to work harder because I don't fit in, because I'm different. I got to work harder. I got to do better. I got to pretend that, everything is perfect and I've got it all under control. So that was really hard as well. Experiencing stigma for sure. Like I had a director at work in the past. We're not going to name names like you said before, like no names. Sure. But if you're listening, I still remember. Who would constantly, seriously, like pretty much every week, every one-to-one would be like, you're too emotional, you're too sensitive, you're too kind, like you're not harsh enough, you got to be more assertive, like if you want to be a manager, you got to do this way, and it felt like I was never good enough, and there wasn't a place for someone like me in, the workplace unless I was willing to completely change myself. And then I have what they call a spiky profile, which means like I'm really good at certain things that some people find like super hard or super daunting, and they're like, oh my god, like how, and then I'm like really, really shit at some really basic stuff. Like I can't possibly pack. Like it's the worst thing in the world. Husband. So yeah, that's made it sometimes challenging, because in a job, like often they ask you, this is what you need to do and this is your job description. And I'm like, can I just do this bit? Yeah. And also, by the way, I'll do all these other bits that are completely outside the job description because I love it. But can I just not do that bit, especially the bits that have numbers in it? Because like, that's not my thing. Or the things that you need to do twice because I'm bored. And when I'm bored, I make mistakes. Yeah. So things like that. At the same time, I just want to end on like a positive note. I think that being different and being wired differently has made my career and my life super exciting.
I was going to say,
do you know what I mean? Like when you were even saying like, you've done so many different things, and I'm like, kind of comes with this, you know? It's like, I can't really help myself. I'm like, oh, shiny new thing. This is interesting. Let's have a go. And let's look over there, look over here, I just love that. And I wouldn't know, genuinely, I would have no idea who I would be without my BPD, my ADHD, these are the current names for it, whatever is the label that will come tomorrow or would have come, 100 years ago, a witch or crazy or hysterical, whatever the label is, I genuinely wouldn't know. It would be a completely different life.
Yeah.
And I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
I just call them quirks. That's what I've always said for our brothers and stuff. They're little quirks,
Yeah.
rather than just being like. Because I think everyone's got some
Yes.
quirks, and just on varying degrees.
What would you say, like, from your experience? Obviously, you just talked about your boss that was, you know, didn't know how to deal with someone like you, and actually said the wrong things. What would you say would be something you would give, you know, someone that's listening to now that potentially might have someone in their team that they just don't get, and they're like, what's some of the things you would definitely stay away from saying, and some of the things that you maybe would advise them to say or to ask?
Don't make assumptions. Is the first thing. I mean, it's really obvious, I think, but like, is it assume makes an ass of you and me? Isn't it? Yeah. So don't do that. Don't do that. Don't make an ass of you and me. I hope we can swear on this body, because I feel like I keep doing that.
Don't worry.
And I haven't yet said excuse my French, so I probably should.
Oh, please.
But yeah, like, yeah.
It's R-rated, this podcast. It's R-rated on Spotify and YouTube.
I'll keep going.
Yeah.
We should have added a little explicit content to our
I reckon
our logo.
I reckon James should do that for us on our Spotify.
Yeah.
Explicit.
Yes.
I would really say, like, ask questions and really listen to the answer. Like, I think, you know, if someone had, on the flip side of, you know, saying these things like too emotional, too sensitive, too this, too that, or stop being so creative, stop challenging everybody all the time. Like, why do you always have to ask questions, or things like, you know, instead of all of that, like, just ask questions like, oh, I've noticed that you ask a lot of questions. Like, can you tell me more about that? Not even like, is that, just, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah.
Because then I'll be able to say, oh yeah, I'm like really curious about things, and you know, this is how I process information. I want to make sure that I'm fully understanding like where you're coming from and where we're going and whatever, you know. I can give more context, and then probably the person will be like, oh, that's interesting, and now I get it.
Yeah.
And also it will open the conversation of perhaps me saying, well, if I'm asking too many questions, feel free to, you know, give me feedback, and this is how I better receive feedback. So just making it that safe space to have those conversations with the team. And it doesn't have to be, please, no tokenism, no singling out the person that has a label right now and sitting them down and saying, what do you need? What support do you need? It is really good to have that conversation as a one-to-one, like separately, for sure. What support do you need? You know, can we help? Definitely do that bit. But not in front of the team, not in a group context. Like, in a group context, though, what's amazing is to have a conversation with everyone about how do you work? How do you like to work? How do you like to communicate?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not because you have a certain label that you are the only one who has preferences about how you work as well, right? And lots of people, you know, getting a diagnosis is a privilege in itself. It takes ages if you go the public route. And it's really expensive if you go the private route. Yeah. So there are lots of people out there who would identify as, you know, neurodivergent, or I prefer to use neurodiverse, who would identify as neurodiverse. And, you know, they would benefit from that conversation being had as a team to say, yeah, I prefer written information, or, you know, I really don't like, please, can you not call me out of the blue for no reason? Yeah. Freaks me out. Yeah. tell me in a message, hey, I'd love to catch up about this. Yeah. That would be amazing. So
it's so interesting that some of the things you just said just there, because as you're talking, I'm thinking it should just be everyday way of working is that you ask people how they want to work. Ask people how they want to be communicated. Yes. Yeah. How do you want to be communicated to? Do you know what I mean? Ask the questions so that you don't make the mistakes and you don't upset people, and you make people feel like they're included, and they, you know what I mean? Yes. As you say you think to yourself, it's actually common sense.
It's like the foundation. Yeah. Create the safe space, have the conversation, and actually listen. And once you've listened, put things in place. That's the other step as well. I think sometimes people ask, maybe they listen, maybe not. But then do they follow through as well? So, for example, if you're asking someone like, hey, what kind of support do you need to do your best work, and then they tell you X, Y, and Z. Like, for example, don't call me out of the blue. It freaks me out and drives my anxiety to the roof. Please send me a quick message to say, hey, do you have 5 minutes to chat about X, Y, and Z? So I don't feel like I've made a horrible mistake and I'm a terrible person. Because you're calling me and I don't know why. You know, like if someone tells you, like, the next day, don't call them out of the blue. Like, and that's happened to me. Do you know what I mean? So if someone is willing to share with you, you know, something like that. And I understand there are exceptions. Hey, don't get me wrong. If there's a like massive emergency, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, why did he call me? But if it's not an emergency, if it's like, hey, can I talk to you about, you know, this, and that? And I'm just like, literally just yesterday told you, like, just, can you send me a message first? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yes, ask, listen, and implement. It's very basic. I agree with you. Sometimes I just think, how do I still have to say these things? But
so basic.
We do.
Ask, listen, implement.
And at the same time, recognizing that we ask a lot of our leaders, our managers, our colleagues. So I understand that, you know, sometimes we forget things that seem simple. Even I'm sure that I've done it, because sometimes, like you've said before, we get caught up in our own things and everybody's got their own things. So again, it's fine to get it wrong. Yeah. And we can always, you know, apologize and make a repair as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In your experience with the work that you do within the space, have you seen any businesses or any like programs or initiatives that have really worked well for? I did my homework.
She has paperwork.
She has paperwork.
I have paperwork.
Love this
because
organisation.
You know, like I always worry, like I'm gonna forget something really good. Do you know what I mean? So
don't worry. I think this is great. I love it.
Same.
Examples of successful things that organizations have done. Oh my God, yes, I know where to start. So there's the company my husband works for. They have actually introduced neurodiversity and mental health under their health cover. Oh, wow. So you can access a psychiatrist and you can get diagnosed and you can access treatment through their cover, and that's also for your spouse. And I just think that is next level. And I know that costs money. So not every company, especially if you're a small company or a startup, you know, might be able to afford it. But I just think I need to mention this because honestly, that's thanks to that I got my BPD, borderline personality disorder, and ADHD diagnosis. And I will be forever grateful for that, because otherwise, you know, it could be like 2 to 3 years of waiting time, etc. So they don't cover everything. I'm not gonna like oversell it. Like for the borderline personality disorder diagnosis, they were like, oh, this is a long-term condition, so we won't cover therapy because it'll be too long and expensive. So that was ouch, you know. If it had been anxiety, I would have gotten like a bit of therapy. But anyway, so it's not perfect like everything. Yeah. But it's it's a huge step in the right direction.
Before you go on with more examples, I just want to ask you, or I want to ask for the listeners, can you please explain to some listeners, why is it important to have a diagnosis? Because some people won't understand why you need to have a diagnosis or why you want a diagnosis. So I think it's important for people to understand that.
Definitely. And again, I'm speaking from my own personal experience rather than, you know, a blanket statement that, you know, get a diagnosis, everybody get, you know, run to the GP and get diagnosed. It's not what I'm saying. But definitely for me, it's been like a huge help to get a diagnosis. Feeling understood in your human experience, getting access to support, treatment, and also finding a community that shared like similar just way of thinking and feeling and experiencing the world. So it's been hugely valuable. And then when you get a diagnosis, obviously it opens like certain doors in terms of and we can, but just disclaimer, we can question that, because should you need a diagnosis to open these doors, right? I mean, that is a major question. And I have an answer. But anyway, that's not the question. That's what the ADHD brain does. So let's come back to the topic. It opens certain doors, like access to reasonable adjustments at work, access to things like government support. Like there's a government scheme called Access to Work. It's the government's best kept secret. If you haven't heard of it, Google it, have a look at it, see if you're eligible. It really can be amazing. You can get financial support and also like coaching, stuff like that through the government to help you get into work. You know, and some of these things you don't have to have a diagnosis. You can like self-diagnose or explain like how you know you might be experiencing certain challenges and you know the support that you need, but a lot of them it helps, it speeds it up, and sometimes you even need one. You know, so yeah, like even access to benefits if you need it, or you know, so it does like open lots of doors and opportunities. It comes also along with stigma and challenges as well, but for me so far personally in my own experience it's been more of a positive than a negative.
And also, you know, for families with young children who might be experiencing certain things and getting a diagnosis, actually that opens a lot of access for support for families and how to deal with certain behaviours, and coaches families, parents, caregivers through, you know, best way to support their children. And also obviously then children do get extra help if they need it at school. So it does open doors, like you said, in certain ways.
You can get like extra time for exams. You can get the disabled student allowance potentially, depending on the diagnosis as well. So yeah, there's like, it opens lots of possibilities, I think. And but the first thing is really getting that validation, I think, of like, like I used to say, and I know this word is loaded, so it doesn't suit everybody, but I used to say, oh, finally someone is telling me that I'm not crazy for thinking that I'm crazy. It's like this weird thing.
I think one of the things that I feel is the reason why a lot of people don't want to get diagnosed is because of the stigma behind the potential diagnosis. And actually that's such a shame that that's the world that we live in, that stigma stops people from wanting to find out more about themselves because they don't want to have another label on top of potentially more labels that they've already got. Because as you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder what stops people from.
I think that's why it's important to hear from people, you know, why getting a diagnosis can be beneficial, which is why I wanted to get your point of view on it as well. Because I do think it does. Although, like I say that, my brother got a diagnosis when he was like 3. I've spoken to you about it before, and it's kind of like gone the total opposite. He now is like, he's never felt different, because he had a diagnosis at such a young age, and he's just like, this is me. He's never felt different, and he's never actually really explored his differences, so he doesn't really know how to cope with his challenges that he faces, which is like the opposite of what you've experienced.
Maybe there's something to explore in terms of when and how you get diagnosed as well, like in your life, and also like the support that you get and like what happens next, because I know that a lot of people in the community have also that feeling of like nothing happened, like so what, you know, like you get the diagnosis and then it's like, here's a pamphlet
and that's it.
And that's it. So
you do have to do a lot of the legwork yourself, for sure.
There's a lot to say around, you know, the value of, I think, self-education, self-exploration, once you get the diagnosis, but even prior to that, like there's so many resources now online that you can look at, you know, if you start to think, oh, maybe I identify with like this community or this life experience, and you just like, okay, let me like explore a little bit more about, you know, even without having a label or a diagnosis.
Talking about resources and where to get further education, where would you, so someone that is looking to learn more about it, where would you recommend for them to go? And for people that are in working environments, so people that are managing teams who are actually, maybe I want to learn a bit more about this space, where would you suggest they go?
There's an amazing initiative, Neurodiversity Celebration Week. Takes place once a year. I think it was in March. Please check. I might be completely off. And that was amazing. Lots of content got recorded there. So I would say have a look at that. And they have a website as well, full of resources. And there's also like Mind UK, like the big charities. They have lots of, even the NHS. If you want purely like informational type content, that is always a good place to have a look at. Take everything with a pinch of salt always, though, just with what you see. And then if it's specific to borderline personality disorder, BPD, which, is my first diagnosis, and I've talked a lot and explored a lot more about that one so far, we have a talk show called The BPD Bunch. Zani is the founder of it. It's 18 of us, and we talk about our lived experience with BPD. It's amazing. We're aiming to not only break the stigma, but also for those of you who are not familiar with borderline personality disorder, it's a long-term mental health condition that impacts on your sense of self, your distress tolerance, emotional regulation, and interpersonal relationships. And it's one of the most deadly mental health conditions out there. 7 in 10 of us will attempt suicide, and 1 in 10 will complete. So yes, we want to decrease that percentage, and that's our mission with the show. So if you're, your family member, your friend, or if you're just curious, you want to support us, in any case, check it out, because I think, what Zani's doing and hopefully what we're doing as a group is absolutely amazing. And we're all over the world, and we're, very diverse bunch, so that's really cool as well.
And where can they find that conversation? Is it on YouTube?
It's on Instagram and YouTube.
Cool. Amazing.
Superb. We need to get the link.
Yeah.
You have to send it to us so we can pop it in.
Happy to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, watch the inclusion conversation as well.
Of course, pop that in there as well.
That should be your first stop. Really.
Start with episode 1, please. Please start from the top.
Just a quick rewind though, because I did cut you off short from your successful inclusion programs, and I don't want to rob the listeners of some
I completely forgot about that. That's where we started.
Moments.
Oh my lord.
Yeah,
I love when conversations do that. So that's perfect. So if you've missed the question, we're talking about what companies can do to create a more neuro-inclusive environment. So
she got it.
So we talked about adding neurodiversity and mental health to your health cover.
Yeah.
I think something else is around physical space. And having an audit of your physical space through a neurodiversity lens. So bring in people from the community, have them enter the space and have them give you feedback on, for example, lighting or sound can be extremely triggering, for different people. So do that. Do a little audit, invite people with lived experience and have a look at that. The other thing to look at is processes. So like recruitment, for example, or, onboarding, etc. Again, looking at that through that neurodiverse lens. So, bring a group together. Maybe if you have like a neurodiversity business employee resource group.
That
thing.
Yeah. That's the right, employee resource group.
Yeah, or bring an external person.
I was going to say, hire you.
Hashtag open to work. Or freelancing. Not open to anything. Still married. So have a look at that.
There's no alcohol here, by the way, in the studio.
Not today.
We don't need it, baby. Like recruitment, for example, there's something like a pet peeve of mine, right? When people don't send interview questions in advance, or they actually bluntly refuse to send interview questions in advance. I'm like, what are you actually interviewing for? The job, and whether the person can do this job, and whether they've done something similar before, and they have aspirations, passion for what they would do, or whether they can answer questions under huge pressure, anxiety, etc. Right? It puts people at a major disadvantage if they experience anxiety, or if they already feel different, etc. So it's just like things like that. So thinking about all the processes that you have throughout the company. I'm just taking an example of some HR aspects because I'm familiar with those.
That's a great tool that people, they're so precious about the interview questions, aren't they?
Do you know anyone that does that?
We
Oh, did you
do.
do?
No,
No.
I don't know
So
anyone.
there's an amazing organization called, and this is totally a plug for them, because they're amazing. Diversity and Ability. They're an award-winning social enterprise based in Brighton. They're led and by disabled people. 85% of their employees, team members, are disabled, identify as disabled and or neurodiverse, and they do that. They do that by default. They actually ask you what time, what day would you prefer for your interview. Here are the interview questions. Do you have any reasonable adjustments? Is there anything that we should be aware of? You know, it's just absolutely brilliant. It makes you feel like they care, even before you may or may not, you know, work with them, in, you know, now or in the future. But it just leaves you with that feeling that they really, truly do care about people, and they value those differences.
Yeah, you just
know?
have that peace of mind before you go in, and you're calm, and you're like, actually, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Like, why is everyone not? There's so many no-brainer moments.
Do you know what
today.
it is? It's because people are a lot of people in businesses, think that they are so fucking busy all the time that they can't fit anything in for anything, and they're superior because of their busyness. And that is it, really. That's the baseline of it. But actually, how many deadlines have you got in a week? You're not going to have like 25 deadlines in the space of a week, whereby you can't give one person the opportunity to choose when they can come in and when they're comfortable coming in.
Yeah, and if really you're not available in X window, just say that. Just offer,
Well, yeah, exactly. Just
free
give a
mornings
plethora
or we're not saying
dates
like,
and
you know,
times.
say like, hey, I'll interview on a Sunday morning if on a Sunday morning you have, you know, family commitments. By the way, oh my God, you have totally like hit a nerve in me with that word busy. It's the new word for like fine or something. I don't know. Everybody's like first thing on a call. Count it every call.
Oh my
How
God,
are you
I
today? I'm so busy.
Oh,
Say, really?
That's literally
Are
me.
you that
That's
busy?
literally me.
And
wanted
if
the
you
crowd
are,
to
well,
swear
I'm,
right now.
this is
Stop
a
it.
gentle. It's not
Stop
not
it.
gentle. This is a compassionate calling out.
Stop it. I'm so bad at saying
Because
I'm
it's
busy.
like-
But that's another word of saying busy.
Well,
That's
yeah,
another
but
word.
do you need to be? And you know, are you really like?
No.
Creatively occupied.
Creatively occupied.
Yeah, and is it a choice or a constraint? Because if it's a choice, then you know I'm busy
feel seen.
is actually really positive. You know, no, but if it's a choice, like I'm busy too. Like
I feel
I
attacked
work
right now.
I
I'm
work way
very-
too much. Do you know what I mean? But I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm busy by choice, or am I busy by constraint? And if it's by constraint, then what can I do about it?
Yeah.
So it's just for me, it's like, oh, it's so overused. You know what I mean? Just like, and
Yeah.
it makes other people feel like, oh, maybe I can't ask for, you know, could we do this fun project together, or could we hang out because you're too busy anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was not for you. That was not for you. Because I know we would hang out.
I'm going to work on that. That's a little take home for me is actually, are you busy by constraint or busy because
By choice.
by choice? I think I make myself busy, to be fair. I think I'm busy by
I
choice.
do that too.
I think I like being busy. I don't like sitting still. So I make myself busy and
Yeah.
then I get stressed because I have no time.
Yes.
So it's like I'm a hamster.
It's a
on
lose-lose situation.
I'm a hamster on a wheel, just running and running and running and running, and actually I can take
Yeah.
myself off the wheel, but I choose not to.
Well, like when you did the
Wild.
mask last night, was it last night you said
Yeah.
you did the mask?
I took myself off the
And,
wheel.
you know, you gave yourself this time, this 40 minutes to
Yeah.
get off the wheel, and you realized that, you know, you have the time if you want to. It's a choice.
It's a choice.
And also I think, and this is something I'm working on, that's why it's very easy for me to say, but
Yeah.
I'm on the same like kind of journey, I think. Oh, I hate this word. I'm on the same path. It's the same thing, different word. Anyway, point is, we forget that we're human beings, not human doings.
Love that,
Yeah.
Solène.
Yeah. Go away.
Stop being in my head.
Go away. Oh gosh. Yes.
So back to our question.
Oh god. Honestly, have you got any more tips?
Yes, I've got a couple
me.
more. Please lay on the sofa.
Solène's going to send me a bill after this.
And I am getting very expensive. I have a couple more. I think one we've already touched on. It's about looking at the culture and creating those safe spaces where you invite people to share their preferred ways of working, ways of communicating. And that will include people with lived experience of neurodiversity, and it will include as well everyone, you know, in their different ways. And then the final thing is, I think there's a clear correlation between neurodiversity and innovation. You know, you've got people who think differently. You've got literally people who experience the world differently, who feel like, I don't know how to explain this to people, but there is a beautiful quote, and I'm going to butcher the quote, I do apologize, by Marsha Linehan, who is an incredible psychiatrist who developed dialectic behavioral therapy, DBT, who has been very helpful for a lot of people with BPD. It's not the only therapy, there's lots of other options. But she says something about people with BPD are like people with third degree emotional burns on like all of their body. So emotionally there is no skin, like everything just hits you like so deeply. So that's empathy that you were talking about. It's like, I'm like, people need to learn empathy, like what do you mean? You know, I used to think that everybody felt this way. You know, with my husband, once we were in Cyprus, and this is only like 4 years ago, and we're watching this movie about wildlife, and there's this little bug that is like crawling on a piece of grass, and you see it like magnified, and I just started going like, it's all over me, get it off. And he was like, what is going on? Thank God it was only 2 of us in that room, which now it sounds even weirder. Oh my God. Anyway, and he was like, and I was like, what do you mean? You don't feel it on your body? And he was like, no, I just see it. And I was like, for me, I physically feel it. Like someone breaks a bone on like watching sports or something. It hurts me. I can't explain at which level. And so I think we are incredible naive experts. And I say naive not in the sense of like naive, like, you know, not like that. In the sense that we may not be expert at what you're trying to achieve, but we have that naivety and our own lived experience and expertise that is so different that is going to be able to expand that, you know, vision or that lens. So if you're trying, I don't know, to come up with like a new way of doing something, a new way of approaching customer service, or a new technology, or, you know, just changing something about a product, or even coming up with movie ideas, anything. Just bring someone in who really thinks completely differently and is not an expert in this area in your field. They know a little bit about what you're trying to achieve and your core values, but that's it. Just bring them in and just be open to that complete out of the box thinking. Because 100%. Before you get to the amazing idea, you can have so many other ones along the way, and you'd be surprised like where it can go.
Wow, you really did come equipped with so many tips. And I mean,
I feel like dropping the mic, but it's attached very much.
I feel like you've just given the listeners, I mean, this is a great last episode to end on.
Always was going to be, wasn't it?
So much juicy information and tips for people to go back to their businesses and their everyday lives, and some great resources as well.
Can I say like...
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. I totally interrupted you.
She said she dropped the mic, but she hadn't dropped the mic.
No, I totally interrupted you because the listeners probably don't know that this is the 3rd time that we've scheduled this episode. So we scheduled it, and then I had to go to Dubai because we were going to have a look at Dubai, and now everything makes sense, right? Of why we were going there with my husband. And then the 2nd time, unfortunately, my grandma passed away recently, and it was her funeral on the day that we had scheduled. And this is the 3rd time. So, you know, sometimes I get angry at the meant to be thing because I'm like, why is all the bad stuff meant to be? But this is not bad. This is great stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is meant to be. And there's a lot of things that I'm telling you now that I've learned only in the past months. And I don't think it would have been the same episode a while back. So thank you so much for having me.
Honestly, I think I'm going to cry.
The magic number 3.
The magic number 3. And also, it's meant to be. It was like literally, it was destined to be. at the end, because it was funny, because you were scheduled to be the first one of this season, because we were like, it would be great to open with Solène, and then we couldn't make the date work, so then we had our friends do it, which was great, and just
Best for last.
everything-
Sorry, friend.
Fate by design.
Everything
or
works out as it's meant to be. I'm just going to, one final question. If you were to give any sort of advice for anybody out there who might be struggling with thinking they are feeling a bit different and outside of everyone else, and they may be feeling like every bit of emotion is hurting them as well, what advice would you give them?
I did have a look at that. What advice? It's really hard to give advice because everybody's different in so many ways. And also there is a saying in the community, it's a quote, and this one I wrote it, so I came with it, so I wasn't gonna get it wrong. It's by Dr. Ramsey, and he says, if you've met one person with autism, you've only met one person with autism. And I think it applies to like all of neurodiversity, in the sense that, even within the community, even if you share the same label, like you are different, because there are so many intersections as well, right? I mean, you can, like, I'm a neurodiverse like woman, so there is an intersection there. I'm French, so I have a different culture background. So all these, identities like form something unique. So what I'm gonna give as like, 3 small pieces of advice. I promise I'll be concise this time. I'll try my best. I want people listening to like take them, reflect on them, and if they resonate, then explore further. But if they don't, that's also fine. Like, find your own pieces of advice that resonate with you. So the first one is to like get to know yourself through curiosity, courage, and compassion. There's tons of resources out there. Like I've said this before, if you feel like some of the things that I've shared resonate with you, explore it, like go for it, just dive in. And there's so many ways to explore as well. Like, we're so lucky, right? We have books, we have podcasts, we have movies, documentaries, etc. So just, have a look at all the resources, and keeping that curiosity, that courage, and also that compassion. Like, it's, if you feel like you have borderline personality disorder, don't ask Dr. Google about it.
Do you know I was just going to say, I love the fact that you just reeled off all those things and you left out the internet, and then you just said it. I absolutely love that. Yeah,
it's there's a lot of stigma out there still, and I think many of us are working to change that. I have a fear that people will discover the stigma and then be put off by continuing their self-exploration. So that's why I mentioned all these things before. And I think anything that you see on Dr. Google, then definitely take with a massive pinch of salt, and always balance your sources. And if you have the opportunity, then ask people from the community for, what they find useful. The second thing is express your strengths, challenges, and needs when and where it's safe to do so. So what I mean by that is like we all have strengths and challenges, so just feel free to like say, hey, like I'm really good at this, and it may be due to some of my quirks or some of my differences or my lived experience. And we also all have challenges, and I think it's totally welcome to express those, and to also request adjustments and be like, hey, like I need this support to do my best work. I need a different type of chair. I need an office that has slightly different lighting. I need a specific assistive technology, etc. Maybe it's not going to be so easy to meet that need, and you're going to have to work also with compassion with the community, with the school, with the employer, etc. But it is completely in your right to state that need and to state also your strengths. And the safety piece is sometimes it's not safe to do that. Sometimes, unfortunately, and you will feel that probably in your gut, right? And if you can, in that case, if that's the answer, it's not safe to express my strengths and my challenges here, then if possible, try to change the environment. There's this beautiful image of like the fish in the murky water and the fish in the clean water, and it says something above like, if you saw this picture, like you would change the water, not the fish. Do you know what I mean? So look at, can you change your environment? Can you talk to someone else around you, etc. And then the final third one is about community. For me, like, I used to feel like I don't fit in, like no one really knows me, I can't show my true colors, I will have to live a life of loneliness, and exclusion. And it's not true. Since I've had my diagnosis, I've found incredible people all over the world who have similar ways of thinking, who have experienced similar challenges. It's amazing. It's amazing. You feel less alone. And so, yeah, there's many of us out there. Like I says, everybody's neurodiverse, In the end, we're going to be the majority because everybody's going to realize I have quirks. I am different. So yeah, and we're fabulous. So just reach out.
I think they are great tips. And I think that they will resonate with a lot of people.
I think people will be like, I'm quirky.
Yeah.
I've got quirks.
Yeah.
Because the advice you just gave could be for anyone living any everyday life.
In fact, I implore everyone to do all of that.
All those things as human beings, individuals. We could be so much better if we just did all those three things.
Yeah, and at the same time, I don't want to minimize the fact that some of us in the community have, a different expression and lived experience also. Like, I also feel like I do talk from a place of privilege. I know many people in the community, specifically in, I'm talking about borderline personality disorder, still are experience very difficult symptoms. I know that many people in the community have more extreme experiences of the diagnosis that we've talked about. So I think, yes, everyone express your quirks and also invites, all different expressions as well, and respect that there'll be people who are nonverbal in our community. Yeah. And, through technology, they can express themselves in a different way, but also I've learned a lot recently about sensory communication. You can engage with, lots of people through other senses, like other things than language and words. So, yeah, just keep exploring and invite, all the differences, whether you perceive them to be small fun quirks or whether you perceive them to be very, very big differences. They're all valid.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Solène, we could talk to you all day about so many more different things. Me too. And it would be
that's something I can't stop doing.
Movie, I think. Rather than
4-part documentary.
Yeah.
The next project. There you go.
Netflix.
Netflix is calling.
Original series.
They're knocking at the door.
I mean, if it's Amazon, we'll take it as well. I
mean,
we'll
Amazon,
do Disney Channel,
Apple, Disney, Netflix. Tag them all in.
Hashtag still open to work.
I would love to do that. That'd be so cool. I mean, I would be sweating my tits off. I would absolutely love it.
People would pay to see that, I'm sure.
They would. Oh, honestly, Solène, that was such an incredible conversation, and I knew it was going to be an incredible conversation, but there was so much that resonated, and that people can take away. And thank you so much for being so open and honest with your neurodiversity and your diagnosis. It's so powerful and incredible that you're able to share that with such confidence and with such
Power.
Power, strength. I love it. Thank you.
And for all the amazing tips and,
They're
knowledge and advice and guidance. Yeah.
Free tips, people.
No,
free
but
tips.
you can pay me if you want.
Oh God, let's jump into
So the PayPal is in the comments.
We've literally been here forever. We need to round this episode up. Right.
Yeah, I got to get some food, people.
Quick fire.
It takes me 2 hours to get home.
Oh gosh.
Quick fire questions.
See how committed she is?
I am.
Quick fire questions. You're 100 years old. You have all the faculties. Where in the world would you want to be?
Do you know my great grandma lived to 100?
Really?
Yeah.
Where is she?
In Paris.
In Paris.
Anywhere. Literally, I can be anywhere.
Yeah.
Nepal.
Mm.
In the mountains.
Oh.
Amazing. Yeah. That sounds good.
In a Buddhist temple.
Mm.
And what snack are you taking there? What's your go-to snack?
Chocolate. I said that in like a very low voice. Chocolate.
Without hesitation as well.
Yeah. Chocolate. What's your superpower?
I don't have one. I'm not superhuman. I'm only human, remember?
Stop it!
I think you've got loads of superpowers.
I think you've got loads. But I
What,
like that answer.
what does bravery mean to you?
Bravery means following your path even when you can't see it and you feel like you're not sure that you're even on it.
Yeah.
We're going to go into the manifestations of the week because I've got nothing else to say. The questions and the quick fire questions, just that was a good way to end it.
Oh.
Do you not think?
Yeah, I do.
Right. Final time. Nannies of the week. I'm going to start with you, Solène.
I've got one, Manny.
And it is very nice. Like, I've been literally
trying to
my
look at
eyes have been
them.
darting
Yeah.
around at the flickers of metallic.
Yeah.
Did you know I did a pageant at the weekend? That's why
I saw on
have,
your Instagram. I saw that you were in a pageant.
Let's not talk about it.
She was in a pageant.
What kind of pageant? Like a beauty pageant?
Yeah.
Oh my god. What did you get to wear? Like, did you have to do the whole like big dress thing?
Big dress, no swimwear, hell no. I was like, no.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. How
That's
did
like
that
a
come
long
about?
story. Let's not.
Okay,
It's-
another time. We've got
another
to
time.
do
Have me
Manny's.
back, bring me back.
We need to go for
let's-
dinner. We need to get a date in the diary
Yeah,
before you go to Dubai.
I
for
was
dinner.
ready tonight.
I know.
Next time.
Soz. Right, what's your manifestation? What are you manifesting this week for yourself?
Freedom.
Oh.
Freedom.
I'm manifesting freedom. I'm doing a lot of reflection about the need for validation and appreciation and the fear of rejection. And how can I free myself of that, as well as of, my own like limiting beliefs, my own vision of what success is supposed to be. And I'm like looking at how can I reframe all of that into actually the biggest gift, the biggest success, the biggest joy that I can give myself for this life, and I only have this life, or maybe I have others but I might not know about them. Who knows, I might come back as this very wise monk, but if I don't, how do I give myself freedom in this life? Freedom to be me, freedom to be human.
Beaut. My Manny is so basic.
You just said it so basic. My Manny is so basic.
It is so basic. I am manifesting some time to plan the 6 weeks holidays, because people, I have left it till the last minute, meaning that today was the last day of school and I haven't planned anything for the 6 weeks holidays. Okay.
I really.
It's very unlike me.
I hope you get some time to plan some amazing activities. It sounds like you've got bits and bobs anyway that are already like in the diary.
I got some baking.
And she's coming over. Maisie's going to come over and do some work in the garden. I need to get a date in the diary for that.
Oh yeah.
I can get a couple of dates in for that actually. Okay, so my manifestation is I'm manifesting breaking through my own glass ceiling. I think I've created my own limitations, and I think last week my manifestation was something along the lines of like being more brave, I think. And actually following on from that, it's like my bravery needs to lead to me like actually not thinking that I can't do things, and not thinking that I'm not allowed to be in a space, or that I don't deserve to be in a space, or being scared to have conversations with certain people because I'm scared that they're going to reject me. It's all linked together, and I just think of late I've definitely been feeling like, oh, what am I, like, kind of similar to what you were saying about like just like what am I doing, where am I going, what's the point of it all, like just feeling a bit disjointed. So yeah, I need to break through that glass ceiling that I've literally just created for myself and just go, shh, I'm coming through.
Yeah.
One question.
Maybe you need to set aside some time just for yourself, just to have some like self-reflection on all of that.
Life.
Yeah.
One
who you are.
question that I would love to invite in this reflection is, what purpose is that glass ceiling serving? Because the hardest thing in letting go of anything is that we think is as simple as intention, like, you know, just saying, oh, I'm just going to let go of it. Usually it's hard because it serves a purpose.
Yeah, the purpose of that glass ceiling, I know what the purpose is. The purpose is that I can control where I'm going. Through the glass ceiling, I have no idea what's through there. I have no idea how to deal with the next stage, and that's what I think where I am in my life. I have no idea how to deal with that next stage, and it's fucking giving me goosebumps, and it's making me want to cry.
Oh, God. Now I'm getting all teary as well.
Oh, God. I'm crying on a fucking podcast.
James, are you laughing?
It's just laughing at me. Oh, my God. Oh,
James is mean,
hell.
people. James is mean.
Oh,
Fucking
he's
hell.
not. He's an absolute angel.
It's scary. I just feel like it's just scary. There's
it
no
is.
fucking
Fear.
playbook. Give me a book
No.
to read to tell me how to get through the glass ceiling, what's going to be over it, then I'll do it. But I had no idea. So it's just like, thank you.
But
close
do you
it
know
up.
what? To give you some solace in that situation, that is a real common fear amongst a lot of people, is that the unknown and being uncertain about the unknown scares a lot of people.
Yeah,
And-
just not spoken about, is it really?
It's not, no.
And I'm sure you've already broken many glass ceilings
Course
to
he
get
has.
here.
I know, and it's been a struggle.
That's what you need to
That's
That's
remember.
why I'm so tired. That's why I'm so busy.
So go get that hammer, babe.
God, on that note, we are going to gong out for the final time, people.
It's the final countdown.
Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do.
Right, let's go. Just like my life, that was a shocking, a miserable, sad ending.
Namaste.
Fuck it out. Stay brave. Stay curious, y'all.
And stay honest.
Woo!